Control arm bushings are pretty torn, both sides. If you have air suspension, make sure to lock it in the service position. Sometimes they just don't want to unlock. It's crazy. Hell. Looking for the dust caps. There's 2 of them. Just work by feel. If you can't work by feel, then you just look for them from behind. Yes, it's getting CV boots, both sides. Come on. Come on. Getting close. 21. Forgot to put on my oiler. Maybe it is better to put it straight to the tool. So as you can see, this one does not have a locking screw for the disc, so it's not really needed. And I forgot to break this bolt loose. One, two, three, four, five. One is missing. There it is. Barely enough room. Do the same thing on the other side. Obviously, if you don't need to replace the CV boot, you can leave the drive shaft alone. Before you push the caliper piston all the way in, make sure to remove some fluid from the reservoir, and later on, after you put everything back together, do a brake fluid flush, however you want to do it. So as you can see, I did the same thing on the passenger side. There's a broken CV boot. I took the dust cap off, or the splash guard. I forgot to mention that if you turn the steering wheel into to the fully locked position and lock the steering wheel, that can give you a little bit extra room. It should come out though. Taking rubbers off is always difficult. Yeah, ideally you want to use a tool that threads in here and it pushes against the shaft, and then the joint comes off. On older joints, they should just pop off by using a hammer. And you see it didn't take much effort. That's the one thing I hate about CV joint jobs. It's all the grease. So I should have put on some gloves. Come on. Oh, there's another, there's a C-clip here. You can leave that in place, just work the boot over it with a screwdriver. You can also just cut the boot. Man of my own advice. Okay, these joints usually come apart fairly easily. It doesn't really matter which way they go back together in terms of orientation, but you want to make sure that this spacer ring faces the correct way. I'll get to that in a second. So all you need to do is tilt the cage, and then start removing balls. Once you have enough out, you can then use the empty holes here to pull the assembly out, or the inner guts. To separate this, you again take advantage of the holes, and then you just slide it out. And once the parts are clean, I'll show you what I mean about putting it back together. And the whole time you're working with the CV shaft, axle shaft, you want to make sure that the ABS tone ring here doesn't get damaged. Okay, you want to look for pitting marks along these channel grooves. The outside's looking good. Two, 4, 6. You want to check the balls. Just roll them between your fingers. Check for lumps. Check for pitting. When in doubt, ask a second person to give you a hand. This is the inner race. Need to check it for pitting as well. Yeah, that's looking good. So to assemble, you can see there's a wide edge here, and there's a narrow edge. The narrow edge faces out, and this obviously only goes in one way. This is flat. This is the upward facing side is stepped. So then all you do is you place the cage back in, utilizing these holes, and you twist it into place. You can see how nice and easy it falls into place. And then all you do is rotate and align the inner half so that a ball fits in, and you just go around placing balls into the slots that are missing. If you move the bearing too far, it may seem to want to lock up. You just free it up like I just did with a hammer, and it should be nice and free to rotate and swivel. A new bearing will be stiffer, so it's more difficult to rotate, move a new bearing. This is just for showing. I'm going to take it apart again so that I can clean everything and make it nice and dry before applying fresh grease. Assembling this onto the drive shaft is a reversal removal. Put the boot on, tap this guy into place with the new retaining clip, feed in grease through this side and from this side, tighten down the boot clamps, and install the shaft in reversal removal.